So, moving on. So we have the third one, which is relative clause. Relative clause. We have 20 minutes to the end of class, so let's quickly see how far we can go. Now, relative clause. Relative clauses are clauses headed by words like who, whose, whom, where, when, and that, and their compounds. So you have, whenever you have words, these words, yeah, whenever you have these words, not in question form, but in a form where they are requested, they are used in such a way that they are used like subordinate clauses. They are used like subordinate clauses are they are performing or helping to write subordinate clauses. In such situations, they become they are called relative clauses. So you could have Mr. Jalal does not request an example like Mr. Jalal does not like working with people who procrastinate. So you have who relating back to people. So who and every other thing in that whole lot that makes sense together is relative clause. All right. So Mr. Adela does not like words. We love working with people who procrastinate, and that whole lot is relative clause. And you remember I said, and they are compounds. They are compounds like whatever, whomever, whenever, wherever, whatsoever, the rest of them like that. Once you find them in sentences where they begin to the very end of where sense is made or complete sense is made, they're going to be called relative clause. So I'm going to places where I like going to places where I can listen to motivational speeches. Those are relative clauses. They can also start the sentence. For example, you could have when I become the president, I will make Nigeria great again. So that one is starting this a sentence, but it is when I become the president, okay, comma, I will make Nigeria great again. So when I become a president is the relative clause there. Okay, when, then referring back to what will happen when that happens. So let's go on. Now, collocation are words that go together. Words that go together. These words most of the time operate together. So we have words like you have combinations like adjectives and noun. You have adjectives and verb combination, noun and noun combination, verbs and preposition combination, which sometimes could be called phrasal verb. Now, let me say this, that these, like I've been saying from the beginning of this particular part, these these combinations or these subcategories are many. There are many. So you should just form your notes and write and be able to learn as many as possible and write out as many as possible from the internet in order for you to be able to have a robust understanding of how you can make use of these things and how you will not repeat words. IELTS is very, very keen on not repeating words. They don't want students to repeat words. So you should be able to write as many as possible so that even if you have to write 100 essays, you will not use a particular word the same way. All right, so let's go on. So adjective plus noun, the typical adjectives qualifying a noun. So handsome man, beautiful, okay. So beautiful lady. So let's write lady. You know, you can't have handsome, beautiful lady. I mean, you can't have beautiful man, but you can have beautiful lady. You can have handsome lady, but you can have beautiful lady. All right. So then here you have adverb plus verb, shooting sporadically, crying profusely. You can't say crying heavily. They don't go together. You can't say, okay, of course it can rain heavily. That one can go together. It's raining heavily. All right. You can say, for example, okay, of course, there are some words that don't go together. So I hope you understand what I'm trying to say. The words that go together, walking majestically, yes, all right. You can't have running majestically, for example, despite the fact that two is motion. You can't have running majestically. It's most likely walking majestically. So like that, nouns plus noun, you have giant stride. There are several of them on the internet. Write them out, learn them, try to make use of them. Then verb and preposition, take up. You can take up a job, take up a challenge, take up, pick up something, take up something from the floor. All right. So take in is to probably accommodate somebody who has had, who is homeless. Taking somebody who is homeless, taking, what else? The woman is pregnant, taking in, all right, to take something, literally to take something in, take this bunch of keys in from me, so you can take off, like to start off, to embark on a journey, or maybe when a vehicle, an aircraft moves or goes into the air, it has taken off. All right, to start something, the project has taken off, to start a project. Right, so to take out, I'm just trying to tell you different ways you can use this, and while we are writing these ones out, you should try to play on them, play with them, try to see how, whether your mind can remember how they can be used, or whether they have meaning. These are expressions anyway. Verb and preposition are expressions, and they could have other meanings. Because IELTS is big on synonym, you can take this expression. Why in some places, in some case, you write that in the same essay you are writing the expression, and in the same place you are in another place you are writing the word that can synonymize the expression. For example, to taking, you don't have to say pregnant, pregnant, pregnant. That's it. Taking, has taken in, pregnant, became pregnant, like that. So, for example, take out. For example, take out could be take out trash. And in military palace, when you take out something, you kill the person, you eliminate the person. All right. So these are some of the words, some of the things that they're expecting us to make use of in your writing and your speaking, and be able to spot them in your listening and reading. So the same thing goes for passive voice. Now, passive voice, the man killed the dog. Subject is the man. Object is the dog. Killed is the verb. Now, in passivization or passive voice, the dog was killed by the man. It changes. The dog was killed by the man. So you have the dog being a subject, and which was formerly the object, has now occupied the position of the subject, and the man, which was formerly the object, has now occupied the position of the object. And so the verb has to change. So making use of passive voice is very, very important also, because the whole of IELTS is talking about, especially when you're speaking and you're reading, listening, you're trying to see whether your speaking ability is higher or your writing ability is higher than the average. And you find out that on the streets, when you are going on the street, hardly do you have people say, maybe the woman selling paper by the roadside, maybe you've heard her say, the paper was bought for 200 naira yesterday night. You will hardly hear that. It's not street. The ability to speak at that level is not possible on the streets. All right. So because of that, it's an exclusive preserve of people who are quite advanced in their use of English language. So that is what we're talking about there. All right. Number 6, IELTS. If you are familiar with reading, you find out that IELTS sometimes, make use of comparison especially when you are talking about true false not given. They make use of comparison, true false not given, choosing heading, and all of that. They make use of comparison to what's it called, confuse students and to make them lose their way. Comparison is one of the what's it called now? One of the loopholes they put in people's work in order to confuse them. So, and comparisons are basically adjective, but IELTS will not use this one. This one under positive, no, they won't use positive because it wouldn't carry much what's it called now? Confusion. It wouldn't carry much weight. But they make use of comparative. Anything in the bigger, more bigger, biggest, bad, the worst, you know, and the superlative. The comparative and superlative, that's why it's there in yellow. The comparative and superlative are the ones that are highly and mostly used by IELTS, and they're expecting that we, you know, we use them too in our writing and in our speaking, because they will use them in your listening, especially in your reading. So they are making, they are expecting you to understand how to make use of this, so that you become very good at making it shows that you have some advanced level skill in writing. Now, let me also say this, that out there, once you get to the point where you can, how do I put it now, begin to begin to compare, yes, compare, whether within the comparative sense or superlative sense. Once you have gotten to that point where you can compare, it's obvious that you are not just you are not a rookie in IELTS. You are an advanced level user. So that is that is what that is expected to do. All right. So, like I said, if you have any reason for me to you want me to retake a particular explanation, please, you are free to interject. All right. So let's take contrast. Okay, before we go to these other ones that may not be I don't know. Let me see. Okay, we'll go to, let me see. I'll take this from here. I'll take this one from here. Then we'll go to, okay, and I'll put it maybe here. Let's go. Okay. Yes, I'm putting it here. Now, so if we have been able to get to number 9, I think that's where most of it. Okay. Okay. I think we need this one too. We need number 13 up there. Okay. Sorry. So we were at number contrast here. Now I'm expecting that we also use contrast. Of course, we saw contrast in coercive device. Contrast is needed a lot, you know. By the time you begin to do now there are two different, let me clarify contrast and comparison. Comparison is when you compare the same attributes between two or more people, same attribute, okay? Same attribute of two or more people, okay? But contrast is now indicating what one has and what the other one does not have, okay? So let's look at comparison. Both of them are tall, but one is taller. Or let's say both of them are tall, one is taller. Two people are, one is the tallest of three. So what is bringing that comparative whether or superlative format is the tallness that we are trying to consider when it comes to all three. All right. But in contrast, we are not going to be considering the same character or traits or the same characteristics. We are going to be talking about two different characteristics. So one is fair, the other one is dark. Two different characteristics. Tola is fair, while Shola is dark. Two different characteristics, but the same characteristics you can now compare. Shola is darker than Kola, all right? Or Tola is the darkest of the three siblings. I hope you understand. If you don't understand, I think somebody was trying to call my attention. If you don't understand, this is the time when I want you to speak. So we know. Okay, cool. All right. So next time you probably have a question, raise your hand, then I call you. There's a way you will raise your hand on the app. So raise your hand, I'll see it, then I'll call your attention. I'll give you the floor. So number 8, gerund. Gerund is when you start sentences with the present continuous tense forms of verbs. Okay, present continuous tense. So working every morning is another form of exercise. And gerunds are basically trying to like using the verb in form of a noun. Yes, working every morning is another form of exercise. That's a gerund. ing format as the first word of a sentence. Attributing a lot of accolades to his son makes him misbehave sometimes. So attributing, gerund, starting sentence with the ing format of the verb is gerund. So I hope that is taken too. Number 9, to infinitive. This is starting sentence with to and a verb. So you have the typical cliche, to err is human, to forgive is divine. Okay, to err, to and verb err. Okay, to eat a bar before work is an invitation to a dull morning. So to and then infinitive, to infinitive. So to eat, to and the verb is are all examples of to infinitive. So number 10, this is where we're going to stop. Number 10, the other ones are things that you must just know before now. Okay, so wide range of structures. I want you to dig the internet very seriously and write simple sentences, compound sentences, compound complex sentences, complex sentences, and write notes on them. Now you see that 3 of them are what's it called now? Highlighted. IELTS is expecting that you use wide range of structures in your write-up, but simple sentences are not going to be as rated as compound sentences. Compound sentences are not going to be as rated as compound complex sentences, and compound complex sentences are not going to be as rated as complex sentences. So I need you to be able to know what is expected in writing these types of sentences and being able to make use of them, write them on your own, form them on your own, in order for you to have a good understanding of what you are going to be expecting in the exam. So permit me to quickly come here, all right, and dig this one out. Okay, just copy and I'll paste here. Now, this is your assignment. I'm expecting that you write from the internet and read the notes that you write on 1. I think I'll have to change it to 1 to 10 on vital signs. Signs 1, to 10. All right. Right from the internet and read the notes on vital signs 1 to 10. Write 10 sentences with at least 5 vital signs in each. All right. So, write 10 says a sentence with at least 5 vital signs in each. Now, this is an example of question 2. I'm sure we all understand question 1. Write them out. Write as many examples of what we have done from the internet. Make huge notes concerning them. Don't just write anything, any short one. See, I have a knack for knowing when my students do rush work. I have a knack for knowing. So, and when I teach, I tell my students that once I've taught you for 1 month, I can write a book on you. Some of us, our temperaments are basically who we are. So I deduce people's temperament from the kind of work they turn in. So please do a good job with your assignment. So the deadline is 6 p.m. tomorrow. Get cam scanner, write on an A4 paper or higher education, scan and send to me. I wouldn't really recommend A4 paper at this point because I want your notes to be in one place. I don't want your notes scattered. Okay, so get a big note, write then, scan as clearly as possible, scan under good lighting, scan during the day when you can be sure that you are sending it clearly to me. And if you don't do that, then it hampers the way I'm going to respond to your work. So clearly, neatly, and with very sharp, sharply. Let me just put it that way. Very sharp. All right. So now let's look at an example of 2. One sentence. You can see this is one sentence from the beginning to the other. The comma, the full stop is at the end. So we said, although he is from a rich family, we brought in relative clause, whose members are top officials in multinational companies, all right, and are more than ready, bringing comparison, although bringing in question device. If I extend that up to this point, I would have written a subordinate clause. And I'm starting from here, I'm starting another. Whose is starting up is signaling the beginning of a relative clause to this point. This is where there's some kind of complete sense made. Then I have more comparison. That makes 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, if you look at ready to, I'm ready to, it comes under collocation. That's 5. It lives like a pauper due to this under collocation 6. Lives like a pauper due to is refusal to be helped by them. Now, to be helped by them is passive voice. So I'm expecting you to write a full sentence, making sure that you have at least 10 full sentences, not short sentences, full sentences, making sure that you have at least 5 vital signs. The reason is that we want to be sure that we can write complex sentence, and compound complex sentences. And this is how you do it. All that I have taught you can be brought together at different points in time to have this. My next class is calling. So I hope you understand. Hello, ma. Hello, ma. Yes. Good evening, ma. Could you please, yes, it's 9. Just give me about 5 minutes to round up my current class. I'm sorry, just 5 minutes. Thank you. All right. So now I hope you understand what's so. It's just one full sentence, but it has all of this information. I mean, not all, but at least 5 of them, starting from what's it called now? Vital signs and question device to question subordinate clause to uh, hello, are you there? Gerund to infinitive. Now all of that, or few of that. I hope you can all hear me. So let's still quickly go back. Okay, share my screen. So I was saying that we started from, let's say, question device, subordinate clause, relative clause, collocation, passive voice, comparison, contrast, gerund, to infinitive. Now all of that, or few of that, can help you to write complex sentences or compound sentence, complex compound sentences, excuse me, or complex sentences. And this is an example of it. All right. I hope you understand me. So if you have any question, this is the time I'll take it before I call it a day and go to get an assignment for me 6 p.m. tomorrow. Yes. Questions? Questions. Anybody? Okay. Let me ask one after the other. Mr. Adeoye, do you understand? You understand everything that I've discussed this evening?
I understand, but I actually slept off like around 9:32 because I won't lie, I am seriously tired.
Sorry. If you
I
miss
was
out,
following and I understand to some part. The part that I was awake,
okay.
I understood.
So if you need to listen, you can always check on YouTube. I will always make the listen available on YouTube. All right. So
No problem.
so Ms. Perez, do you understand?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Okay, next person. Can I? Hello?
Yes, I understand.
You understand?
Yes.
And I hope the question you were about to ask the other time has been settled.
Yes, sir.
All right. So, Mr. Joseph, are you there? Do you understand?
Yes, sir. Same here too.
Okay. Now, let me say this. If you have a friend who can join, typically, at least we should just be 10 in this class. If you have a friend who might be interested, now this is it. For those people who join through the campaign from the YouTube, Facebook ad, it's not going to be the same cost. All right. But the such friend can just speak to me, but it's not going to be at the same cost. It's going to be way more than that. All right. So if you have a friend who is willing to join the class, it's still fresh. I'll just make sure that if the person calls and we have an agreement, maybe tomorrow, I'll make sure, look for a way to respond to the person and make sure that the person understands or is at the same level as you guys, so that the person can turn in the assignment before next tomorrow. So it is still open. People can still join, but they will have to. It will be on a very different agreement. All right. So, because with that, I want to say thank you very much for having me teach you And I believe we are going to achieve great things together. Once you are a good student, you have also met a good teacher. All right. So, and these are my acronym for success: ability to carry out teacher's instruction in totality. You must be above beginner's language skill. You must have confidence in yourself and confidence in the teacher. You must do a lot of practices. There's no two way about it, and you must have a good teacher. Not just a teacher, there are quite a number of people out there who are trying to survive and they know next to nothing to in IELTS. When I started teaching IELTS in 2013, I was pushed to the class without any formal training or formal carrying information, without any orientation about how IELTS work. I wonder how my students, what kind of students I would have turned out then. So most people who are out there are just like that too, rookies, inexperienced, and they just want to make a living because everybody's looking for a way to make a living, however legitimate. So you must get a good teacher, an experienced one at that, and I have that experience and I have the ability, innate ability, God-given ability to teach, and then you need God. These are about 6 things that we need to succeed. So pick those 3, make sure you hold on to these 6 items and don't joke with them. All right. And then, well, I believe we are going to achieve great things together. So in the absence of any question, please, let's have a wonderful night.